कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकि कोकिलम्। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताया पतये नमः। जयत्याश्रितसन्त्रास ध्वान्तविध्वंसनोदयः प्रभावान् सीतया देव्या परमव्योमभास्करः परमव्योमभास्करः।
श्रीमते निगमान्त महादेशिकाय नमः। Vishwamitra sought Rama's presence in annihilating the demoniac forces. He said, Swaputram Rajashardulam Ramam Satya Parakramam Kakapakshadharam Veeram Jeshtham Me Datumarhasi. And he continued, Dasharatha, I know who your son really is. Aham Vedmi Mahatmanam Ramam Satya Parakramam. Akin to Vedahamedam Purusham Mahantam, which the Upanishad, especially here we have this vacuum from Purusha Suktam, which says so. Initially reluctant, upon the advice given by Vasishtha, Dasharatha sends Rama along with Lakshmana behind Vishwamitra to the forest. Tataka is killed, Subahu is killed, Maricha is driven away, and then Vishwamitra receives a message that there is an Utsavam being celebrated in the neighboring Mithila Desham. This Mithila Desham is currently or largely the Nepal country that we know of. So in Mithila Pradesham, Mithila is a Nagaram actually, and it is in a province called Videha, ruled by kings who have been given the title called Janaka. Janaka is the title given to the kings who ruled that Pradesham. So the current king was called Siradhwaja. So Siradhwaja Janaka was celebrating an Utsavam, a Yagyam for Shiva Dhanus. So for that bow of Lord Shiva, celebrated bow of Lord Shiva, an Utsavam was being celebrated, a festival was being commemorated. So for that Vishwamitra was invited. So that is when Vishwamitra thought, I have two eligible bachelors with me. Let's see if something good happens to them, and took them to Mithila. In the outskirts of Mithila was a vanam called Mithilopavanam. It was an Upavanam, somewhere between the urban region and the forest region. Call it semi-forest or semi-urban. So it will have more vegetation. So in that Upavanam called Mithilopavanam, the trio spot a hermitage which has been less maintained. That is when Rama questions Vishwamitra Maharshi as to whose ashramam it was. Vishwamitra Maharshi narrates the life history of a beautiful woman who later became the wife of Gautama Maharshi. Her name was Ahalya. Tasya antaram viditva cha Sahasrakshaha Shachipatihi. One day, Shachi's pati. Why should Valmiki say that the eyes of Indra fell on Ahalya? Because he was infatuated by her. He was lured by her. She did not do anything, but he was attracted to her. All the more, instead of calling him Vasava or Indra or Purandara and so on, he calls him Shachipatihi, which means he is already the husband to Shachi, a lady called Shachi, who is called Indrani. Now his eyes glances fell on Ahalya, which means married men should never come with such kind of wrong thoughts about another lady. She could be a spinster, she could be the wife of somebody. But this is the moral that we learn from this particular episode. Muniveshadharo bhutva ahalyamidam abravit. One day he played a small drama. He enacted a drama where he created an atmosphere, an environment as if it was the early hours of the morning, sent Gautama Maharishi out of the hermitage, came in the disguise of Gautama for the union with Ahalya. Now, what was Ahalya's state? Initially, she thought it was her husband. Later, from various signs, the voice, the tenor, the content in what he spoke, she got to know that this is in the disguise of her husband, but it is not her husband, it must be Indra, Shachipatihi. Munivesham sahasraksham Vijnaya Raghunandana Matim Chakara Durmedha Devaraja Kutuhala. But she thought, why should I not have a relationship with the king of all the celestials? Gautama Maharishi sensed that something wrong was happening. He came to the ashramam. Just then Indra escaped in the form of a cat. He cursed him to have 1,000 parts similar to the private parts of a woman. Later, through the austerities performed by Indra to goddess Parvati, he turned all those marks on him, scars on him into ice. So he was called Sahasrakshaha from then on. Now let us see what happened to Ahalya. Vada bhaksha nirahara tapyanti bhasmashayini adrishya sarva bhutanam ashramesmin vasishyasi. So he cursed his wife Ahalya, who had knowingly got into a relationship with Indra, to become invisible. Adrishya. When I say invisible, it doesn't mean the object will get invisible or Ahalya will become invisible. Though she may be present, the onlookers may not look to her with deep eyes. They may just think she is one of those objects in the atmosphere and go. This is where some of the acharyas in the local or in the transcreations of Ramayana have told that she turned into a stone. Goswami Tulasidas in Ramacharitamanus states, Gautama nari shrap bas bhupal dehi dhari dhir charan kamal raj chahti kripa karahu raghuveer. So Tulasidas states that she turned into a stone. In fact, one of the earliest transcreators of Ramayanam in the Indian language, who was Kamban in the Tamil language, mentions, Melliyalai noki vilai magal adaya niyum kalliyal adi என்றான் கருமகள் ஆயமருங்கு வீழ்வாய். Kal. She turned into a stone. But this word stone, Pashana, is not mentioned by Valmiki. In such a scenario, it is better we assume that she started performing Prayaschitta. So she engaged in deep austerities, contemplating on what she should have done in that situation, why did this happen to her, and how in the future she must behave. So this was a time for introspection. What went wrong, and what should go in the future to make things right. So this was a time for her to internalize. When a product fails, you often introspect and try to correct that product. So she did her time of Prayaschittam. Now, Rama comes and gives emancipation to her. How he gives emancipation is another topic of discussion. Now, the moment he gives emancipation, Gautama Maharishi comes on his own accord, and Rama convinces Gautama that this period of Prayaschittam that his wife Ahalya had performed had turned her into a very genuine lady, and it was time that Gautama too forgets the past and accepts her as his wife again. So Rama did mention very clearly to Gautama Maharishi that Ahalya had committed a mistake. She has done Prayaschittam. If a person genuinely feels what he or she has done is wrong in the past, they should be given another chance. This was Rama's take. Now let us see what the Westerners have to say. So, not as old as Ramayanam at all. There is this great person called Thomas Hardy in the colonial English literature. In his work called A Test of the D'Urberville, he mentions, I'm just giving you an outline of that particular story. Jack and Joan D'Urberville, so they were a couple. They were very poor peasants. They were not educated. They were very poor economically. Probably on all standards, they were very, very poor. Their daughter was called Tess. So this couple, peasant couple, poor peasant couple, had a daughter called Tess. This little girl Tess was molested. Probably the word that is being seen in most of the newspapers, raped. She was molested, raped by the poultry farm owner's son. So the landlord, we call them zamindars here, we used to call them. And there we had such rich men who used to hold poultry farms. So that owner's son, he was filthy rich. His name was Alec D'Urberville. So this Alec D'Urberville comes and molests this girl, poor girl, little girl. She realizes what has been committed to her was wrong. Now, later, she was given in marriage to a person called Angel Clare. And on that first night, this girl, poor girl, Tess, confesses to her husband, see, I am the daughter of my parents' Derby fields, and I was working in this poultry farm. The owner's son molested me. She speaks the truth to her husband. She also tells that I was unaware. I tried resisting it. I couldn't because he is too powerful. He is too strong that I couldn't even fight him back. You know what the husband says? We believe in the virginity because it is a concept of the Western religions that as long as the woman remains a virgin, she is holy. The moment her virginity is lost, she loses her purity. That is why in most Western religions, even deities whom they worship, they always say that she as a virgin delivered this divine child. So virginity is very important. This man was very true to what his religion had taught him. So he said, I believe in virginity. I discard you. You can go away from my house. Now, there is a place where the person, the one who is writing this, Thomas Hardy, can offer his comments. You must have seen in newspapers, though there are editors, reporters who write it, finally the one who is the editor-in-chief gets one small piece called as an opinion. They can cite their opinion. There is an incident. They can give their opinion. Here Thomas Hardy says, to Tess, who was initially molested, she revealed the truth. It was her mistake. He says, it is not the mistake of the man. It is her mistake, it seems. Though she tried resisting him, she should have resisted more. It is her mistake. So compare this with Srimad Ramayanam. Here the little girl Tess tried resisting that owner's son. She tried with all her power. She couldn't fight him back in his financial status nor in his body power, physical strength. And she was all the more truthful in revealing to her husband that this is what had happened. Both her husband and the one who's writing this particular work says it is Tess's mistake. So she must have been discarded. She is rightly discarded. This is how that lady should be treated. This is colonial literature. Let us compare it with what Ramayanam says. Ahalya knowingly had a relationship with Indra. She was cursed as much as Indra was punished. Remember, Indra did not go scot-free. He was also punished as much as she was punished. But later Rama comes and says, though she may have committed the mistake knowingly, she has done prayashchittam, so she is as holy and pure as what she was earlier. Accept her. So, you have one work where the girl is unaware, she is molested, the blame is thrown on her. Here the lady had committed a mistake knowingly, yet Rama says, accept her, give her a chance. So this forget and forgive is the concept of Sanatana Dharma which has come into the Indic civilization. Now, I did stop at one place. I said, Prayashchittam she had done and Rama gave emancipation to her, Shapa Vimochanam to her. And I also said how she was given Shapa Vimochanam. But for that, we'll have to wait for the next episode.
Dear Astika reader, I'm happy to be authoring a two-part book on the Ramayana in English. The first part is slated for release in the year 2024. The book aims to recreate and retell the Ramayana of Valmiki, conforming to the ancient commentaries and other allied literature. To receive notifications of the book release, kindly register with www.deshikadaya.org/books. Namaskaram.